Have you ever wondered why some people seem to command a room the moment they speak, while others struggle to be heard even when they're shouting? It's not about volume. It's not about how much you say. It's about understanding something most people never learn, that your words carry a power you've been overlooking your entire life. I'm going to share with you 8 principles that will completely transform how you communicate, how people respond to you, and ultimately, how you shape your reality. But here's the thing. These aren't complicated tricks or manipulation tactics. They're simple truths that have been hiding in plain sight. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a guy who talked constantly. In every meeting, he had something to say. At every dinner party, he dominated the conversation. He thought that being heard meant speaking the most. For years, he wondered why people seemed to tune him out, why his ideas never gained traction, why he felt invisible despite making so much noise. Then one day, Marcus attended a presentation by a CEO who barely said 20 words in the first 5 minutes. The room was silent. Everyone leaned in, and when she finally spoke, people didn't just listen, they hung on every single word. Marcus realized something profound in that moment. He'd been doing it all wrong. The first secret Marcus learned? Silence is not the absence of communication, it's the foundation of it. Think about the most powerful moments in your favorite films. What makes them powerful? It's often what isn't said, the pause before the confession, the quiet before the storm. Silence is magnetic. It creates anticipation. It tells your listener that something important is coming, that you're choosing your words carefully, that what follows matters. Marcus started practicing this. Before speaking in meetings, he'd pause for just 2 or 3 seconds. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like he was wasting time. But something incredible happened. People started paying attention. That small moment of silence signaled that he was about to say something worth hearing. He used silence again to emphasize his key points, letting them breathe, giving people time to absorb them. Suddenly, his words carried weight they never had before. But silence alone wasn't enough. Marcus had another problem. He buried his ideas under mountains of unnecessary words. You know what I'm talking about. You've been in conversations where someone takes 5 minutes to explain something that could be said in 30 seconds. Your brain gets tired. You start tuning out. You miss the point entirely. This is what was happening to Marcus. He thought more words meant more clarity, but the opposite is true. Every unnecessary word dilutes your message. It's like adding water to wine. You might have more liquid, but you've weakened what made it valuable in the first place. So Marcus learned to be ruthless with his words. Before every conversation, he'd take that moment of silence to organize his thoughts. What am I really trying to say? What words serve my message? What can I cut? He discovered that one clear sentence beats 3 rambling paragraphs every single time. People could finally understand him because he stopped overwhelming them. Here's something else Marcus noticed about powerful speakers. They all had this unshakable confidence that seemed to radiate from them. But here's the secret nobody tells you. Most of them weren't born with it. They learned to project it even when they didn't feel it inside.
Marcus started small. He focused on his posture first. Shoulders back, head up, feet planted firmly. He slowed down his speech, maintaining steady eye contact instead of looking away nervously. He dressed like someone who deserved to be taken seriously. And you know what? Something strange happened. The more he acted confident, the more confident he actually became. It was like his body was teaching his mind what to believe. This is what they mean by fake it till you make it, but it's deeper than that. You're not being fake. You're practicing the external signals of confidence until they become natural, until they become you. Everyone has value to offer. Everyone has something worth saying. The difference is whether you show up like you believe it. But confidence without consideration is just arrogance. And this is where Marcus learned perhaps the most important lesson of all. He needed to slow down. Not just his speech, but his entire approach to communication. Think about the last time someone spoke to you at 100 miles per hour. Did you catch everything they said? Probably not. When you speak too quickly, you're essentially telling your listener that your time is more important than their understanding. You're making them work too hard to keep up. Marcus started speaking at a pace that felt almost painfully slow to him at first. He articulated each word, giving it space to land. He paused between thoughts, allowing people to process what he'd said before moving forward. And suddenly, people stopped asking him to repeat himself. They stopped looking confused. They started nodding, engaging, responding thoughtfully. Speaking slowly isn't about wasting time. It's about respecting your listener's ability to absorb and appreciate what you're sharing. It's empathy in action. And that word, empathy, that's where Marcus's transformation really accelerated, because he realized that all his previous communication had been fundamentally selfish. He was focused on what he wanted to say, what he wanted people to know, what he needed from the conversation. He wasn't thinking about them. Everyone is tuned to the same radio station, WIFM. What's in it for me? You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you can't connect it to what your listener cares about, it might as well not exist. Marcus started every conversation by asking himself, who is this person? What do they care about? What keeps them up at night? What are they hoping to achieve? Then he reframed everything he wanted to say through that lens. If he was pitching an idea, he didn't talk about how great his idea was. He talked about how it solved their problem. If he was trying to persuade someone, he didn't push his agenda. He showed them how his suggestion aligned with their goals. This shift changed everything. People started actually wanting to hear what he had to say because he was speaking their language, addressing their needs. But here's the thing about making it about them. You can't fake it. You have to genuinely listen. Not just wait for your turn to talk. Not just hear words while planning your response. Actually listen with the intent to understand. Marcus started treating every conversation like a learning opportunity. He shut his mouth and opened his ears. He watched facial expressions, noticing when someone's words didn't match their energy. He paid attention to what excited people, what frustrated them, what made them lean in with interest. He asked questions, and then, this was crucial, he actually wanted to know the answers. This kind of listening earned him something he'd never had before: respect. People felt seen, they felt heard, and because of that, when Marcus spoke, they returned the favor. They gave him their full attention because he'd given him his. Marcus also discovered that people don't remember everything you say. In fact, they forget most of it almost immediately. But there's a way to make your most important points stick: strategic repetition paired with silence. When Marcus had something critical to communicate, he'd say it clearly. Then he'd pause, letting it sink in. Then he'd come back to it from a different angle, reinforcing it. He wasn't just mindlessly repeating himself. He was using intentional repetition to signal, this matters. This is the thing I need you to remember. After key statements, he let silence do its work, creating a mental bookmark for his listeners. That combination, repetition plus pause, made his words unforgettable. People started quoting him back to himself because those emphasized points had actually lodged in their memory. Finally, Marcus learned that conversations without direction are just noise. Every interaction, even casual ones, should have purpose. Before speaking, he'd ask himself, what's my goal here? What do I want to happen as a result of this conversation? And at the end, he made sure there was a clear action or takeaway. Maybe it was scheduling a follow-up meeting. Maybe it was getting agreement on next steps. Maybe it was simply leaving the other person with an idea to consider. But there was always something concrete, something that moved things forward. This made his conversations feel intentional, professional, and valuable. People knew that talking with Marcus led somewhere, that their time wasn't being wasted. 6 months after that CEO's presentation, Marcus walked into a company-wide meeting.
He had a proposal that could change the direction of his entire department. As he stood up to speak, he did something he'd never done before. He paused. 3 full seconds of silence while everyone looked at him, anticipation building. Then he spoke, clearly, slowly, confidently, every word chosen with care. He made eye contact around the room. He connected his proposal to problems his colleagues had shared with him in private conversations. He emphasized his key points with intentional pauses, letting them resonate. And when he finished, he gave them a clear action: review the details and reconvene Friday with feedback. The room erupted in discussion. People were excited. They understood. They were bought in. His boss pulled him aside afterward and asked, "When did you become such a powerful speaker?" Marcus smiled. He'd always had ideas worth sharing. He just finally learned how to give his words the power they deserved. Here's what I need you to understand. Your words are shaping your life right now, whether you realize it or not. They're determining whether people take you seriously, whether your ideas gain traction, whether you can influence the outcomes that matter to you. But most people never learn to wield this power. They talk without thinking. They fill silence with noise. They speak at people instead of to them. You don't have to be Marcus 6 months ago. You can start right now. Use silence as your foundation. Cut out the unnecessary words and speak with clarity. Project confidence even when you don't feel it. Slow down and give your words room to breathe. Make every conversation about your listener, not yourself. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Repeat what matters. End with action. These aren't just communication tips. They're life skills that will transform your relationships, your career, and your ability to create the future you want. Because at the end of the day, the life you have is shaped by the words you speak and how you speak them. So here's my question for you. What are you going to say differently today?